We had a large batch distributed from a primeval cone that we kept in the most central of our discursive low matrices at the time. Your Honor, all invisible 6 petals were pressed upwards at once. I assure you, you slandered near and far, but never a banter hook did give Nora Gardner womble, while wobbling in the first south of our youth. Praise floated north, and that is something we could gather into little bundles of sticks and then sell on the green market. And we did. These are how we bolted our reverse vowel inflection procedures that they still use in the Nantucket courthouse to this very day. I am a scant shoulder bag of the young and invisible tenderhook of the dirigible inventor in Chief Lotsome Architect Models. Sweater. Weather. He was shrimped and federately into a sideways case winder, breaded at each axle until his rotary phone no longer admitted. This was the kind of spark spandrel that would puck on one end of the remove, and then remove its other end of the parquet in an endless loop that cycled on and on throughout all, in the Trinity, decaying ever so slightly with each repetition, but otherwise and imperfect. Exact replica copy, with huge clearing emissions and absolute fidelity to the original. The combination was nothing less than more than less, and nothing more than more scientists debated for 14 years. How to correctly weigh the opposing forces contained within it. But as soon as that was discerned, up cropped another grateful of unclassifiable critics and juries, with no choice but to convict 6 all and move them on to the next leg of their championship. Final show now starring Peter Pence in invective scraped off the shoe of a much tougher, older lawyer played by adult GP, Wally YMC. He fell into a flugelhorn of despair and popped out a trombone of Brian 7 Bags. No stars. All glare. Wholly dark. And we had those little green stickers on our ceilings until that great anti-glow in the dark consortium act of 2032 was passed, at which time the stars turned blue in their sorrow and melted. That's why distinct phases of the Crittenden porridge opportunity situation could not be distributed as leaflets in downtown on Port-au-Prince, because those are just part of what we do at the Bagel Hatchery every day. When I was a spinal column, it meant a dirty word to have grift and grit. And now when I do skin grafts from one apple tree to the next, IR scientists around the world condemning me in one voice. And I just like to ask, where were you when I made the tree I'll bark? Like a snake. Be not too eager to deal out death and judgment, Frodo. That's one of those things that's like, I like to say while I'm dressed in a wizard suit. Does that make me nuts? If so, then sand the salt. I'm a pigeon have caught his own hatch in a cake, and every 2 days I celebrate my baking a new hatch and blowing out the candles, and I think that's nice, and I don't care if you think it's bad. I think you're bad for thinking it. What is so nice is bad, and that's bad. That's worse to me than the nice thing about the cake and the blowing candles. And also, I had a bowling hatch I used to plug in, and that's where we came up with. You use less bowling balls and more like a pneumatic tubes. It's the tubes that really provide the lift, provided there's enough lift inside the tubes. For more information about the cattle rainbow that we have inquired about lately, please see my 16th, 19th, 82nd Pringles, filled with hopscotch, butterscotch, melted curds, cheese. We had no whey, which is a kind of whey that's gluten-free and made without lactose that you get by D. Way of finding the whey. Once you've got the whey separated out from the chaff and curds and the crust, and then we do tassel that and bake it back into the substrate. And by the 4th generation, you're starting to appreciate noticeable gains. And I want that for you as much as I want it for myself. So please send $9.99